our clinical question. Among older patients with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, do breathing exercises versus standard care result in improvements in dyspnea? To write up this clinical scenario, you would search tools like Up-to-Date Clinical Key BMJ Clinical Evidence for background information and secondary pre-appraised evidence, search PubMed for pre-appraised and primary literature, retrieve, download, and read PDFs of articles, book chapters, up-to-date reviews, systematic reviews, and practice guidelines, and evaluate information, synthesize content, write clearly, and cite efficiently using a recognized citation style, while avoiding plagiarism and/or possible copyright infringement. In this short tutorial, using some supporting material from the JAMA User's Guide to the Medical Literature, the online textbook which thoroughly explains the theory and practice of evidence-based medicine, we will outline resources which will assist with the process of scientific writing from the Right Cite tab of the Medical Student Toolkit, define plagiarism and provide guidelines for avoiding it, differentiate between copyright and plagiarism, recognize the elements of 3 commonly used citation styles in medical writing: AMA style, Vancouver, also known as uniform style, and the APA style, and review reference management software tools that can assist with writing and citing. Recall that the EBM approach to our clinical scenario asked us to think of 5 steps referred to as the 5 A's: ask an answerable clinical question using the PICO model, acquire evidence to answer the question, appraise the evidence, apply appraised evidence with our own clinical expertise and patient preferences, and act by integrating the critical appraisal with our clinical expertise and with our patient's unique biology, values, and circumstances. This tutorial focuses on how we formally discuss evidence while writing. In many clinical situations, there would be no need to formally write up our appraisal and apply it. But there are numerous occasions where you do formally write up this appraisal and application, say for a journal club, a grand rounds presentation, submitting a case study to a medical journal, or participating in a continuing professional development activity, such as a PEARLS activity for the College of Family Physicians of Canada. In the Right Cite tab of the Medical Student Toolkit, there are additional resources that can help you, including information on avoiding plagiarism, links to some ebooks that would help with medical writing in general, the AMA Manual of Style, a complete guide to this commonly used medical writing style, plus some helpful websites on the 3 most common medical citation styles. In all writing, we should be careful to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism is defined as taking the original work or works of another and presenting them as your own. In medicine, as in most other scholarly endeavors, ethical writing demands that ideas that are borrowed from others and used in your own work must be properly acknowledged. Plagiarism is an academic or ethical violation. U of M students who are found plagiarizing may be failed, suspended, or expelled. Here are a few guidelines for avoiding plagiarism in writing. The first guideline: an ethical writer always acknowledges the contribution of others and the sources of his or her ideas. Here is a sample sentence. COPD is a progressive disease that worsens with time, and available treatment options will not eradicate the disease. Note the small number at the end of the sentence. And in our bibliography, we acknowledge that this particular sentence was paraphrased from information that we read in First Consult on chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Another way that we can avoid plagiarism in writing is to make sure that any text that we take from an author is enclosed in quotation marks. Here's a sample sentence. According to the World Health Organization, pulmonary rehabilitation has been carefully evaluated in a large number of clinical trials and shown to increase peak workload, peak oxygen consumption, and endurance time. Again, notice the small one at the end of the sentence. And in our bibliography, we acknowledge that this particular quotation came from the World Health Organization Global Strategy for Diagnosis, Management, and Prevention of COPD, which is a website that we accessed. Another way to avoid plagiarism in writing is to summarize. When we summarize, we condense in our own words a substantial amount of material into a short paragraph or perhaps even into a sentence. So, for example, in this sample sentence, we discuss information that we found in a Cochrane systematic review. Adding breathing exercises to a pulmonary rehabilitation program did not show, or has not equivocally shown, increased benefit according to a Cochrane review, which goes on to suggest that breathing exercises may be helpful for those without access to a pulmonary rehabilitation program. And in our bibliography, we acknowledge that we summarize this information from a Cochrane systematic review on breathing exercises for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So, in summary, in avoiding plagiarism in writing, a responsible writer has an ethical responsibility to readers and to the authors from whom he is borrowing, to respect others' ideas and words, and to credit those from whom we borrow, and whenever possible to use one's own words when paraphrasing. It is useful to make a distinction between copyright and plagiarism. Plagiarism is an ethical construct. Copyright is a legal construct. Copyright is frequently indicated with a copyright symbol. This symbol is not required on the work for the copyright holder to receive legal protection. Copyright law gives a copyright holder, usually the creator of the work, a set of rights that they and they alone can exploit legally. These rights include the right to reproduce, copy a work, the right to create derivative works based upon it, the right to distribute copies of a work publicly, and the right to publicly display or perform the work. Copyright infringement encompasses a wide variety of activities, including such things as downloading a so-called free movie from the internet, using a photograph, image, or graph downloaded from the internet into a PowerPoint presentation, or electronically distributing a journal article to a group of people. Copyright holders can sue for infringement, and it is therefore your responsibility to get permission to use a work. Further information on copyright is available from the Copyright Office. Let's begin talking now about citing and writing. When authors submit an article for consideration for publication in a journal, they usually identify journals most likely to publish the content they have written. Either they know the journals in their specialty, or they have researched a journal's purpose and goals. Usually they also review the instructions for authors section of the journal's website to find detailed instructions on the required citing style, format of manuscript, and submission procedures. So here's an example of the instructions for authors page for the New England Journal of Medicine. And you can see here, this is where you would find information like citation styles, how to submit tables, figures, and illustrations, and all kinds of specific editorial policies of that journal. Most medical journals use one of three styles for manuscript preparation: citing in text and creating the standard bibliographies of references. These styles are Vancouver, which is also known as uniform style, the American Psychological Association, or APA style, and the American Medical Association, or AMA style. The Vancouver or uniform style is a very common citation style in medicine. Here is an example of a sentence with an in-text citation using the uniform style. Smoking will prematurely kill half of smokers who do not quit. Notice that the number at the end of the sentence is surrounded by parentheses. This would refer the reader to the bibliography or references from which this sentence was paraphrased. Treating Smokers in the Healthcare Setting, which appeared in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2011. The American Psychological style, or APA style, is often used in psychiatry and clinical psychology journals. Rather than using in-text citation with numbers, the APA style uses the author's names and the date of publication of the article. So, for example, in our sentence, "Smoking will prematurely kill half of smokers who do not quit," the reference will refer to the author's names and the date of publication of their article. And in the bibliography or references, you will find the author's names are arranged alphabetically by author's last name and then the date of publication. The AMA style, or American Medical Association style, also uses numbers for in-text citation in a sentence. However, rather than uniform or Vancouver style, which uses a number with parentheses, the American Medical Association style superscripts the number. Then in our references or bibliography at the end, the references are arranged numerically. Some key tips to remember about the AMA style are that The AMA style requires that you cite each reference in your writing in numerical order as they appear by using the superscript numbers. This means that your in-text citations appear in numerical order throughout your work. You may reuse a numbered reference multiple times throughout your text, and you may also cite multiple papers in one sentence. Your reference list uses regular numbers, not superscripts, and your reference list will be ordered by number and not alphabetically. Here is a sample of a paragraph written in AMA style with in-text citations and a bibliography of references. Our first reference appears at the end of the first sentence. Notice the superscripted number comes after the period. The second sentence refers to the next reference from which we paraphrased information. The third sentence refers us to 3 references that supported the statement we made. Our first 2 references and a third new reference. And finally, in our last sentence, we paraphrase another sentence from our first reference. The references in our bibliography are all arranged numerically in the order in which they appeared in the paragraph. For creating our bibliography at the end of our paper, we use reference management software. In other words, we don't type our citations in the bibliography. We save time and we use a reference management software program. The various software programs that are available work with your word processor to integrate references directly from a database of references into your writing. The software permits you to choose from a standard citation style like AMA or a specific style used by a medical journal, and then will correctly cite the references with the appropriate punctuation and so on that is required for that style. Which reference management software should you use? Well, there are a number of options available. Many people purchase EndNote or Papers for Mac. Other free options include RefWorks, which the University of Manitoba Library subscribes to, Mendeley, and Zotero. We're going to be using Mendeley. Mendeley software is free, but charges for extra storage space in the cloud. More on that later. Mendeley is a free academic software. It's cross-platform, in other words, it will work with Windows, Macs, and Linux, and with all major browsers. We'll be learning more about how to use Mendeley and how to cite and write using Mendeley in the next tutorial. And this concludes our tutorial on writing and citing. JAMA evidence slides used in support of this tutorial were created by Thomas Agaritsis, Gordon Guyot, Kate Pizzella, and Annette Flanagan. They were accessed by me on February 11, 2016 using the JAMA User's Guide to the Medical Literature via subscription held by the University of Manitoba Libraries. Additional slides and animations were created by me. Thanks for watching.